Welcome to r/EntitledParents, where this Karen goes crazy and calls the cops because of a stuffed toy shaped like a penis. That is what the world's come to. Entitled Mum calls the cops because of a stuffed toy. So, I really didn't think I'd ever post here. This happened about an hour ago. I am a 30-year-old man, and I'm an introverted person. I rarely go anywhere outside of work and laundry. Today was one of those days where I had to leave my apartment and venture into the mart of wolves. I was making my usual rounds through the store to get mostly the same things I always get. Toiletries, candles, cleaning supplies, food, and checkouts. I noticed a little girl, probably 5 or 6, who I will call Nice Kid, with her entitled mother. I only noticed because the kid had on a very blinding pink shirt and hat, brighter than the sun itself. As I do with most kids, I smiled and waved and got a wave in return. That's when the entitled mum noticed her kid smiling and waving at me, and this small yet unpleasant exchange happened. Why are you looking at my kid? Huh? All I did was wave. I was being polite. Sorry. Well, don't look at my kid. Are you some creep? No, I was just being polite. There's no need to get angry about it. I cut the conversation short because I hate talking to people, and she was just insane for me being polite to a kid. I walked away and could feel her eyes trying to melt my head. I saw the lady and her kid 2 more times in the store before I checked out, and each time the entitled woman would pull her cart close to her and give me a death glare. I checked out and was heading to my car and opened my trunk. In my trunk, I have a plush penis with a smiley face that I got as a gag gift from a friend. It's zip tied to the holes in the fabric of the trunk, so when you open it, it goes with the trunk and stares at you in the face. I mostly have it there to get a laugh out of my co-workers. Well, I hadn't noticed the entitled mum and her kid walking out of the store at the same time as me, and her car happened to be 1 row behind mine and 2 cars down. Yay me! It was at this time I heard a high-pitched scream and the sound of the woman stomping over with her kid in the shopping cart. "What is that?" she screamed, basically in my ear. What is what? "That disgusting thing on your door. Are you a pervert?" "What, this?" Pointing to my plush and chuckling. "It's a smiling Willy. It was a joke gift from a..." She cuts me off and starts screaming at me even louder, which I didn't think was possible. "I know what it is. I'm calling the police. You're a disgusting pervert." Okay, call who you want. I didn't do anything wrong. Now the lady actually stopped screaming, but she did pull out her phone and actually called 911. I sat there in disbelief that she actually dialed, but it didn't faze me really. I decided to finish loading my stuff into my trunk, close it, and wait in my car for the police. I waited for about half an hour for the police, but no one came. When I looked out my window, I noticed her vehicle was gone. I took that as my cue and just left. I didn't see any police on the way out or through town. I've got no idea what was up that woman's butt, and I don't want to figure it out or see her anytime soon. I know this isn't the craziest of things to happen, but I figured this small encounter deserved a spot here. All I know is I'll probably shop online for my stuff next week. So there we go. Not gonna lie, I didn't expect to start today's episode with a story about a plush penis, but I'm all for it. It makes a change. I don't think an adult waving and smiling at a kid, just saying hello, and the kid waving and smiling back, has ever been considered creepy. It's just polite and it's nice. I don't know why this Karen made it more than it needed to be. I mean, look, I get it. It's good to be careful with your kids, but not every person that smiles at your kid is a creep. Sorry. Also, cops were never going to come out for this plushie, were they? Like, it's an object that's owned by a man. Maybe it's offensive to you. It's not really offensive, is it? They're not going to bother with that sort of stuff, are they? So that's probably why the woman gave up and left, and yeah, OB left as well. All I'll say is online shopping exists for a reason, and that is to avoid people like this. Very good stuff. Now for our second entitled parent story of this episode. My dad is forcing me to either quit my job or to halve my hours, yet refuses to support me financially, despite the fact that I'm a minor. Is this normal? For reference, I'm 17 and I'm in school full-time 5 days a week. I work 12 to 8 on the weekends, and I haven't had a day off other than for COVID leave since August. Of course, my 7-day week schedule isn't ideal, but I really appreciate the income, and I've grown to like my job. Last summer, I really struggled to find myself a job. I was 16, and after dropping in and emailing 40 different employers and revising my CV about 1 million times, I lost all hope. My parents decided that I was old enough to support myself. and cut me off financially, including stopping giving me bus money or lifts. Now, I live in the countryside, about 20 kilometers away from all my friends, so I spent the summer completely alone, which was really difficult for me. All of my employed friends had gotten their jobs through their parents or friends of their parents, but my parents still made no effort to put in a personal word on my behalf to any employers they were on friendly terms with. Anyways, August rolled around and I finally got a job at a McDonald's about a half-hour drive from me after 4 months in isolation. My parents immediately turned their noses up at the mention of McDonald's, but I wasn't in any position to be picky and I'm still very grateful for the job. They've always put massive pressure on me to do well in school, and so to please them, I've been overexerting myself for months and have a long streak of A's and B's. Unfortunately, I miss a day or two of school on average a month because of my period. For years, I've spent once a month paralyzed with cramps and nausea, which are a million times worse than what any other girl I've talked to about this has ever experienced. I'm convinced I have endometriosis, and I brought the subject up with my parents again and again over the years, and I've begged them for a hospital appointment. 4 years later, and I still haven't seen anybody about my period pains, and I still continue to miss school over it. Despite this, my parents are constantly on my back about the days that I've missed at school, and yet neglect to get me any sort of help or treatment for what I'm going through. About 2 months ago, I missed a week of school because I was sure I had COVID, when in actuality, I just had a bad dose of tonsillitis. My parents, though, were furious when I tested negative for COVID, and nagged and argued with me about it for another month until I actually did test positive and ended up missing another full week of school. I've since caught up on all the work I missed, and I haven't broken my string of A's and B's. Today and yesterday, I stayed home from school because I've had another bout of tonsillitis, which went untreated last time and this time as well. Apparently, this was the breaking point for my dad, and he called me down from my room and told me if I didn't either quit my job or drop down to 1 day a week, he was going to go into my manager's office and withdraw his parental consent himself. He blamed my illness on work and told me that it was unacceptable that I was missing school, saying that I needed to take a day off to dedicate wholly to study. I tried to reason with him and showed him my report cards and recent test results and told him my grades were perfect and that I couldn't be blamed for catching COVID or tonsillitis. He shut me down and told me that my grades didn't matter because the fact remained that I was still missing school. I'm unsure what to do or how to change my dad's mind. I know a 7-day week is extreme for someone my age, but I've got no other option. In order to see my friends and do nice things in the city outside of school, I need funds. In order to have those funds, I need a job. My parents want me to have both a school life and a social life, but they won't give me a single cent out of their pocket to get me out of my countryside jail cell. Pocket money's out of the question. I've tried to negotiate my way into making some kind of deal with them by doing good in school and doing any chores they ask of me, but their argument is that I shouldn't be rewarded for doing the bare minimum of what is expected of me. Now that I have my own job, I am financially independent and can no longer be guilt-tripped by them about money or by my laziness. I'm currently saving for a month-long holiday during the summer, and I already have deposits laid down and plane tickets bought. Still, I need to earn a little extra money to pay the entire thing off. It's my reward to myself for the effort I put in at school and for all those hours I've worked. I really want to do something nice for myself before I hunker down and inevitably quit my job for my final year at school next year. For me, my job allows me to actually do nice things for myself and to see my friends. Quitting it or slicing my income in half is not an option. Without it, my parents have made it very clear that they would not support me or give me any kind of pocket money to get a bus to see my friends or to treat myself. I've proved to my parents time and time again that I can excel in school, take care of my physical and mental health, see my friends, and simultaneously work, but they're still not satisfied. I'm very frustrated by this whole situation, as I'm an only child who is fortunate to have 2 working parents who are married happily. Still, it often bothers me that I have friends with 5 siblings and a single mother who have better financial support than me. Of course, I know people's financial situations are not nearly as straightforward as that, and I don't mean to sound spoiled, but it's frustrating for me and I wish my life could be different. What can I do? Am I being a butthole by not obeying them? Is this fair? Any advice would be appreciated so much. Guys, you know what to do. Get down in the comments, help OP out. All right, let's get one thing straight very quickly. No, OP, you're definitely not the butthole, and you're definitely not coming across as cocky or you know, being arrogant. You actually seem extremely humble. You're clearly very hardworking, very dedicated, and just a good person. It's a shame the same can't be said about your parents. Now look, as you said, everyone's financial situation is different, and I completely accept that. But for your parents not to give you any money at all, almost forcing you, right, to go and get a job, and then berate you for having said job, that is actually just like shocking, isn't it? What are you expected to do in that spot? You're stuck, you're trapped. As you said, if you didn't have a job, you would be trapped, as you were for that period of time, in your countryside jail cell. You can't do that though, can you? So you're forced to get a job. I don't know what these guys are expecting of you. Surely, out of the money that you two make, you can afford to give your child a bit of money to just go and get the bus and see their pals, and not have to work, and then they can put all their focus into their school stuff. I think these parents don't realize how amazing their child is, how incredible OP is. The fact that at that age, you can go and work 7 days a week constantly, being financially independent and also dominating school is nothing short of unbelievable, I've got to say. I'm not quite sure how these two have produced you, if I'm honest. But hey, props to you. Screw them. Move out as quickly as you can, and yeah, I guess just try and get through school. But as I said, guys, comment down below, give some proper advice to OP, because they're going to watch this video. Trust me, I know them very well. Now for our third entitled parent story. Mother-in-law doesn't know when to quit. My mother-in-law and I don't get along. I've tried for the sake of my husband, but this last incident was the end of the line for me. My mother-in-law has always had this overprotective aspect about her when it came to her kids, which has significantly grown worse with time. Her reasoning behind this behavior is because she felt her mother always took the side of her SO, and so she vowed to only care about her children and not their partners. That didn't bother me initially. I figured if I was on her good side, nothing to really worry about. Until you realize this woman doesn't have a good side. She'd say rude comments to all of her children's SOs. She'd always gossip about my sister-in-law's boyfriend, saying he was a drunk and always took her daughter's money, even though her daughter didn't have a job, and her boyfriend would be the one paying for the apartment her daughter lived in and all of her clothes and food. She hated my brother-in-law's now ex-girlfriend because she was Chinese. She would state things like she's dirty and gross, and wait for it, gave me the coronavirus. I've got no doubt in my mind that my mother-in-law is part of the reason why they ended up breaking. I never once saw my brother-in-law stand up to his mum regarding any rude comments she ever said about his girlfriend. He'd simply turn away and ask everyone else to handle her. Like, really, dude? I never understood her thought process, because the things that she would come up with would be outright delusional. It was only a matter of time before that crazy would make its way towards me. And boy, did it. When we were at her house, she blew up on me one night because I wasn't doing anything. I didn't help clean up or anything, but neither did anyone else. Well, apparently, I needed to clean off the dinner table and wash the dishes for 7 people while at her house. Even my brother-in-law agreed, even though he would literally sit on his phone the entire time while everyone else does prep work or cleans. So the next night I did it, even though my husband protested against it because I was a guest at her house. She'd be in these weird moods where she wouldn't even acknowledge me when we came over. She just went straight to hugging my husband and saying how much she missed him while giving me a "who's this dog" look. My husband would sometimes force me to initiate the hello and hug, but it came to the point where it was like, why should I when she doesn't like me? It started to get worse when I did something, even while at my own home, mind you. She'd flip out and start yelling, and all of them would need to calm her down. When she'd be at our house, she apparently would expect to be treated with the utmost respect, which is where my petty butt came back in with a no. You do not get to be disrespectful or callous to me in my own home. The icing on the cake is when my mum was with us and we stopped by to say goodbye before heading out. She was talking to my mum, asking my mother all of these weird questions about her name and everything. She took pictures with my mum and then she looked at me and then snapped. She started going off about how I'm the reason her family has so many problems. She's been through hell because she hasn't been able to see her son for so long. I was in utter shock. I didn't know what to say. I was simply looking at my husband like, what is going on? Then she gets up in my mother's face, asking her a bunch of questions about why we got married, telling my mum that I take money from them and my husband, that she sees me take away money from my husband, and that I'm a bad person. My mother didn't say a dang word. But my heart sank when she started to cry, because my mum had gone through hell and back with an evil, vindictive mother-in-law of her own during her 35 years of marriage with my dad. My husband defended me and my mum, even with my mother-in-law screaming at me that she was going to call the police on me and put me in jail. He tried to talk to his mum about her behavior and that it was unacceptable, but she refuses to apologize and she still believes she did no wrong. Her whole reasoning for snapping like that is because her friend told her that women will sometimes marry men and have them kidnapped and killed to take their benefits. On top of that, she doesn't think my mother is my real mum, and actually she thinks she is helping me in the process of killing my husband. At this point, I'm convinced my mother-in-law belongs in a mental institution. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law believe that my mother-in-law did no wrong and that she had every right to behave that way. They keep telling my husband that this is your family and that he should put them first before me. I told my husband that because of how disrespectful his mum was, I do not want her at our house anymore. If he'd like to go spend time with his family, he can freely do so by going to visit them. Is it wrong of me for being tired of being treated like I'm disposable to my in-laws? For asking for something as simple as common decency? I've never acted out or caused a scene in front of them. I've done so much for these people and they don't see it. Till this day, I'm still excluded from the family circle because I refuse to stand for this when behavior is rude and condescending. Alright, so pretty much what OP is saying is it wrong of her to be tired of being treated like trash? No. That is a simple answer. There you go. Solved all your life's problems. Thank me later. I do think it's pretty incredible in stories like this, where so much has happened and someone has had to suffer so much abuse that they actually get to the point where they are genuinely wondering if they are in the wrong. Like me reading this objectively as someone who doesn't know these people, it is so obvious. Like it's obvious to you guys as well, listening, watching right now, that OP's done nothing wrong. They've actually been very patient and that this mum is completely mental. And yes, she probably, to be fair, should be in a mental hospital. The stuff about killing husbands and your mum, OP, not actually being your mum, but just a random woman helping you to do this. Yeah, that's a bit deluded, isn't it? But you get what I'm saying? It's kind of sad that OP is genuinely not sure whether she is in the wrong or not, when it's so obvious that she's actually just done really well and is having to deal with someone that is an absolute psycho like this. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of r/EntitledParents. Really hope you enjoyed these 3 stories. If you did, and you want more from me right away, check out the video on screen. If you're listening to me on a podcast platform, then go down into the link in the description, click on it, and you'll come and see my face. If you're watching on YouTube and you didn't know, as you can see right here, I upload these videos as podcasts on all podcast platforms. Spotify, Apple, Google, your mother, they're all there. Go and watch them. Go and listen to them. Whatever you want, I'm here for you, baby. See you later.